Hello, welcome to Socially Sound. I am Sarah.
And I'm Kirsty.
So today's episode is about employment. So someone sent in a submission saying they want us to talk about how lonely it feels working, but also the struggles of finding jobs because of barriers. And when you are working, the struggles with masking and pretending to be normal. So that's the topic of today's conversation. For me, someone who's been working and working in the NHS, but also as a freelancer, one thing, it is hard to find a job as a deaf person. Thankfully, I work with an agency for the NHS for audiology, and they help a lot with the admin and looking for a job and sending my information to different hospitals who could then read my CV and interview me and whatever. I am someone that perseveres through barriers. I am yet to apply for access to work. I have no clue what the process is like. I have no clue about the accommodation that I can ask for. I just persevere with my implants. But I do try to advocate for myself when I am at work, letting my colleagues know. My CV does say that I'm deaf, so they know that. Thankfully, I'm not rejected because I'm deaf. But also, at the moment, there is a high demand for audiologists. So a lot of hospitals can't really be fussy. They have to accept what they get. So thankfully, it's not too bad. So my agency take on a lot of the responsibilities and I just see what suits me. And then I let them know that I'm deaf, I have implants, I use BSL. So a lot of the staff are quite accommodating. They make sure that I can lip read them. They make sure that I can communicate with them, or they will email me, and then I can speak to them face to face if I need to. But accommodations at work, I don't use. And it does become lonely because so far, I've been the only deaf person at work. So it's still a struggle because sometimes the communication isn't there. It's not easy. Or I'm just sitting by myself because I struggle to get involved with the conversations with the team. So it can be a bit hard, and sometimes I feel like I have to firm it and pretend that I'm hearing. And I don't always communicate that I'm struggling. I just giggle or try to keep up with the conversation and the pace of the conversation. As a freelancer, however, it's beautiful because I'm a deaf freelancer. A lot of organisations and companies that I work with, they're already deaf aware. So they provide the accommodations. So they hire in the interpreters. They schedule times where I can actually switch off and relax. So I don't always have to ask for that. And through that, I've learned more about myself and my accommodation and my access needs. When I did my first professional job, it was a hearing person who booked me, and she said, "Do you need interpreters?" And I said, "Well, I've never actually worked with interpreters." And she was like, "That's fine. I know a network of interpreters," and booked interpreters. And through that, I've created a great relationship with those interpreters who are based in Wales. So every time I'm working in Wales, I know who to ask for. I can contact them and find out if they're available, and they're more than happy. So as a freelancer, a lot of the time, it's accessible, it's really easy. I don't feel like I have to pretend, I can switch off. The interpreters I work with, we have great relationships. And they can usually recognise if I'm not okay, and they'll pull me aside and ask me how they can support. They're more than happy to support even if they're just interpreters. So it depends on what area you're working in. It depends if the people you're working with are aware, understanding, open-minded, because sometimes you don't want to educate people. You just want to go to work, feel comfortable, feel understood, feel like you're in a safe space and that you can step back. So it's 50-50 for me. But it can be lonely. When I'm working in audiology, so far I haven't met another deaf audiologist or worked with another deaf audiologist. So the barriers so far, there's not been many, but there have been few challenging barriers so far. But that's for me personally. What about you, Kirsty?
For me, I'm quite privileged because I work for a deaf organisation. Most of the staff are deaf and use BSL or different communication methods. So it's been a good experience for me. I feel included, I don't have to worry about communication, but we do have hearing staff that work there, which means that occasionally we have to educate them or make sure that there's interpreters booked for any meetings. The biggest challenge for me has been access to work. Many deaf people who use access to work will know why I'm doing this. Access to work, it's such a valuable resource, but not enough people know about it. The way it runs currently doesn't work well. It's not efficient. It's not accessible. It's not efficient. There's many issues with payments. So I know some interpreters who are still waiting for payments up to 1 year, 2 years, some of them 3 years, 4 years. And access to work, I think, yes, it's not their fault, but at the same time, accountability. The government needs to take accountability, but also Department for Work and Pensions, they need to take accountability and change it to make sure it works well with deaf people who are experts in those areas, because it affects deaf people getting into work. Because imagine if you go to work, get a job, and then you apply for access to work, and then they tell you have to wait for 6 months for a budget, but your probation is 6 months, which means you'd be going into a job with no support within those 6 months, and that's going to affect how you achieve your probation. But for me so far, work has been great. I went straight to work from uni. It's been a good experience. I've learnt a lot. But I'm thinking, if I wasn't in a deaf organisation, would that experience be the same? Would I thrive in my career like I am now? I don't know. I can't honestly say yes, it would be the same. I don't know. But I really feel for deaf people who experience barriers in work, because it shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be. We just want to go to work, do our job, and that's it. We shouldn't have to worry about those additional things like educating colleagues, access to work, all of that, explaining what we need, why we need it. It should just be there from day one. That's it.
Yeah. One thing I was going to say is, do you have any anxiety? So imagine if in the future you want to leave this organisation and go to another organisation or look for another job. Do you feel nervous? Like, I feel comfortable right now. I want to thrive. I want to move. Are you worried that in the future, do you just stay because it's comfortable? Or do you want to take the risk? But what if you're rejected constantly, waiting? Or you find a job, but access to work, there's nothing there. Like, what did that feel like for you?
For me, especially the way the UK is right now, the economy is so bad. So moving jobs, a different organisation is a scary thought for me, but as a deaf person, I do feel uneasy, because getting a new job, a lot of deaf people stay in the same job because it's comfortable. Because when we apply for jobs, we might get rejected just because we're deaf. It happens a lot. But for me, I think it's the anxiety of leaving, because I'm worried about if I will get the same environment, will I get the same support from my colleagues as I do now? I feel like my colleagues currently support me really well, so that's the challenge. Yeah.
That makes sense. I know someone through TikTok who is really worried because they're struggling to find a job, At the same time, they don't know what area to go into. They don't know what career field they want to work in. And because there's barriers already to look for a job and to apply and to interview, like if you apply and ask for interpreters, you're not sure if the interpreter will actually be there or the employer will actually book it, because a lot of employers, they expect you to book the interpreters and sort out everything yourself. It should already be available. And talking about this, at the moment there's issues with PIP, reducing it, taking it off people. So through the process of trying to find a job, you're worried about, oh, I don't have enough money to sustain myself as I'm unemployed. Like, what do I do? And then just having to trust that your accommodation needs will be met. But like the process is already hard for anyone, not just deaf people, but hearing people, disabled people. But it's like there's no equality in, like, some people, let's say they quit a job one day or they get fired. Yes, looking for a job is stressful, but for a deaf person, looking for a job is just even more stressful because accommodations, interpreters, applying for a job, but being rejected because you disclosed that you're deaf. But I know a lot of deaf people actually don't disclose it because on their CV, if it says they're deaf, it's instantly rejected. But if they take it off and hand in that CV, they get the job. But then they're worried like, oh, now I need to disclose it because I need an interpreter. And it's just barriers upon barriers. Even if you find a way around it, there's another challenge waiting for you. So there's just a lot of weight, a lot of burden, a lot of pressure, and a lot of people want to go remote, but there aren't fully remote jobs around. It's rare. It's really rare. And then worrying about traveling to work, like, it's just a combination of things. And being in a job and just thinking you have to stay and persevere because there's nowhere else to go. Or I have no passions, I don't know what I'm looking for in a job. And even if I find one, what's the environment like? What are the team like?
Will they accept me? Will they include me? And another thing as well, not just work, but also in work, like how hearing people have like their conversations during their daily job. So office conversations, deaf people miss out on that. We miss out on all of that because we can't hear it in the background. But hearing people can go into like a lunchroom and then join a conversation, but deaf people might just sit there and go on their phone and just be withdrawn.
True, that's very true. Like, in an office job, everyone's just shouting across the room like, oh, how are you today? But a deaf person can't access that. It's just going over the top of their heads all around them and they're just sitting in their own bubble. And it's really sad. That is what the submission is about, being lonely. And there's not enough deaf-led organisations or deaf people in a team. Yes, there's a lot of deaf people working, but most of the time they're the only deaf person in that workspace. Like, yeah, we can talk about it afterwards, but that's after work. Like, you don't have that space within the workplace where you can sit with a fellow deaf person and admit that you're struggling and relate with that. You can't connect with people within that workspace. There's a trend on TikTok where it's like, oh, my work bestie, and we're talking and we understand each other. But we don't see that from deaf people.
No, that's something I've noticed as well.
Like, you see a lot of people sharing their experiences for work, but deaf people sharing that, there's not much of that, like.
And then imagine, like, going home, if your home life is not that good and you're isolated as well, if you've got a hearing family or whatever, that's just even worse. And then the world is already difficult, travelling and not understanding the tannoys. It's an everyday thing. Hearing people don't realise that. It's not only one situation, it's every single day. As soon as we leave that door and we see someone on the street, we don't understand what they're saying, we get on the bus or the train or the whatever and we don't understand, and then we go to work and we're left out, and it's that same cycle again and again every day.
Yeah. And then if you add on listening fatigue, You wake up, you're tired. Put on your hearing devices, you're tired. You go out, there's a lot of chatter, you're tired. You get into work, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, 3 hours, whatever, you're tired. Then you leave. And then obviously for a lot of people who work, you have to think about cooking dinner. If you have children, you need to look after your children. If you have pets, you have to look after your pets. Or even if you live alone and you think, I'm by myself, or the motivation just goes down. You become anxious, you become depressed. Like, your mental health is affected. You're already, like you said, you're already struggling in the world regardless. And then add work, add home life. Like, it's a lot to navigate. It's a lot. And it affects people in so many different ways. And no one's really talking about it.
And then, even worse, people who are watching, like hearing people watching, they're like, oh, this therapy, it helps. But deaf mental health support is really poor. So, again, we struggle in life and then we want help. But then getting help is difficult. Like having a hearing therapist is okay, but then you have an interpreter and it's like a three-way conversation. And then you want a deaf therapist, but the waiting list is so long. Where can we breathe and sit down?
Where? But also for therapy, disclaimer, I did have therapy while I was in uni. The therapist was white. I'm black. There's a cultural understanding that's not there. She was hearing, I'm deaf. There's already cultural understanding that's not there. The only thing really we had in common was we're both women, so we could understand that, but that's not what my issue was. My issue was surrounding deafness, family, or uni studies as a disabled person. She couldn't understand that. They do the best they can, but the root of my issues, they can't understand or relate to those things. So, for a lot of deaf people, they feel stuck, like who can they talk to about it? And then like Kirsty said, the waiting list is so bad, hearing people complain about it. Mental health waiting list, therapists is really long, but imagine how much longer it is for deaf people, especially since there's not many deaf therapists available, deaf mental health organisations available, or in the areas. Maybe there's few in London, but outside of London, it's quite spread out and rare. So imagine travelling to try and connect to a therapist. And not everyone has the money to go private. But even in the private sector, bringing in interpreters is an issue. Going remote is an issue. There's barriers everywhere. Everywhere.
You mentioned about therapy. I remember my first experience with therapy. It was a deaf therapist, but the signing wasn't that great. So, and my therapy was linked to when my uncle passed to mental health reasons, and the therapist asked me what the sign was for suicide.
Oh no.
Really? I'm here for therapy linked to that, and you're asking me what the sign is for it. It's inappropriate, and that already put me off from therapy. Like, so I feel like deaf people, we just can't win. We can't.
Literally.
I'm laughing, but it is a serious situation.
I'm not laughing. But that's awful. You should be able to just go, sit and talk, sign, get everything out. You don't have to worry about polishing their sign or educating them. Just be able to sit and talk and work through that.
Exactly.
But there's barriers. And that can start from the workplace, that can start from family, it can start from life experiences, it can start anywhere. Mental health happens anytime, anywhere. And if you can't get the help you need, what do? And your friends, yeah, you can talk to them, but they may not be able to understand. Or even if you're going through the same situations, how do you help each other? Like, I don't know the tools to go forward. You don't know them either. We can try and band those together, but we're just affecting each other. Like,
it makes me realise I see a lot of deaf people out there who are angry at the world, and I completely understand. I understand. Like when there's people that say, "Oh, try and like let it out in a different way, be like nice and polite."
Huh?
No.
No. We can't just not talk. We want to get everything out. Don't tell her to just sit. No, that's not good. But being deaf and disabled is lonely, very
Very
lonely. Oh, jinx, touch wood. Touch wood, wood, wood. But yeah, like when you unpack this topic, it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. There's no end. Where's the floor? Where do you stop? Like,
And everything's connected as well. I think a lot of people don't realise that when it comes to deaf people, they think, oh, the only issue is just being deaf. No, it's not. It's education, mental health, family, work. Everything exists in the same system. They don't exist separately. And it's a lot. It's a lot.
yeah. It's really sad, because deaf people want to work. It's
Live.
not like they can't. They want to, but it's not available. There's barriers. They want to live, yeah. They're struggling. What can they do? Wow. Wow. So sometimes I do just sit down to myself. I can't ignore the privileges that I do have sometimes as a
Same.
deaf person who is oral with bilateral implants. It's easy, quote unquote, to sit and lip read, but sometimes I do need an interpreter. I want to rely on BSL. Because I'm always speaking, lip reading, I feel like I don't have the space to just sign and be understood. So yes, it's easier where I can just wear my implants and lip read, but I want to be able to sign as well. But I know if I ask for that, it will become a challenge where I just have to persevere and listen and be fatigued. Or let's say my implants have died. What do I do then? But sometimes I just think like there's people out there who want to work in audiology or be in performance or be in charities, organisations, but
The tools, the resources, the support, the access, having role models as well.
oh, role models.
Role models.
Who do you look up to? Who do you ask?
Where?
Where's the help?
This episode has covered a lot. But yeah, it's heavy.
And sometimes trying to be normal. What is normal?
In this world, what is normal?
That becomes tiring. It's just a downhill slope. Really tiring.
And I think it goes back to our previous episode about community. Because we go through so much and we struggle, but we have to find joy. We have to find moments where we can switch off, be with people and just relax and like understand each other and do things that make us happy. Switch off from that outside world for a while.
Definitely. Make the best of it. Gosh. This was heavy. I want people to share their experiences as well. Or offer tips and advice for employment. If people use access to work, what are the ways around, or how do you make it easier for yourself? If anyone knows of within the job market, if there's anything that they can look at and try, that's quite like easy to get into or easier for deaf people to get into. Yeah, just share some tips and advice.
Or even if you are an employer and think about how you can make your workplace accessible and inclusive. If you haven't already, start thinking about it and put that into action, because yes, you are managing a workplace and they're there to do the job, to do whatever for your company, but they're people at the end of the day. They have access needs, they have all these other things, so consider that when you manage a company.
Yeah. But also, ask how can I help?
Yes.
What do you need? Are you struggling? Do you want to adjust your hours, or would you like to schedule in breaks? Like, yeah, just ask. So if you have any deaf or disabled people in your workplace, ask them, how can we help? How can I help? That doesn't happen often.
No, and it needs to happen more.
Yeah. Especially if you're thinking, oh, that person works really well. At what cost? I know you've been working really well, but have you been struggling? Is there anything that could help you work even better? Yeah. Whew. Well, thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Gosh. Hope you like,
Share,
comment,
subscribe.
look after yourselves, please. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.